And there we are, and there's a split now. There's a split beginning. Piper trying to draw away some men in pursuit. This is Piper, Baton, Thomas, of course, Steele Bishop, John Herity, and it's Phil Galloway and Steve Jones that close the gap. 41 seconds now, the gap, and that will place Anderson about 12 to 15 seconds behind the leading group. As Anderson approaches the finishing banner again very shortly, he can expect to see the tail end of that group disappearing round the bend in front of him. As Anderson comes through to the sound of the horn, so the sprint lap this time. A formality for 5 more points. And Ann Anderson, who's come here tonight with Phil to see him win, is being treated to a very special occasion indeed. Ann Anderson was a racing cyclist herself, and she met Phil when they were both competing in a race in Colorado in the United States. And Phil at the time was the reigning Commonwealth Games champion. So these riders also now on the sprint lap, and remember, 3 riders from this bunch to score points, 3, 2 and 1. And Piper on the front at the moment, second overall in the competition, and the gap still 42 seconds. And Anderson now in the finishing straight as the bunch have gone through it, so now it is a real possibility that Phil Anderson is going to do what everybody thought was impossible and catch the field. 5 points this time through at the end of the second sprint of the night, and the 14th since the series began in Nottingham. And the deficit on Anderson behind the field is just 17 seconds. Alan Piper leading them up Temple Street. Steele Bishop now back to the front. Piper second overall at the moment in the competition. Bishop in 3rd place, Baton in 4th place, and again these 3 riders trying to fight out the points on the line. Piper goes for the banner first, followed by Steele Bishop. Baton having trouble dropping out of it. Phil Thomas comes through. Going to be a very good sprint here, but Steele Bishop will get it. Bishop is second, Piper is 3rd, is 4th, and 4th there was Phil Thomas. So round the bend go the field now, but are we going to see a situation where Phil Anderson will catch the field? Bishop on the front. An attack by Alan Piper. No, it's just a move into the front to make the corner first. Bishop, no reaction. Piper just ahead. Thomas there in 3rd place. Thomas cannot afford to let anybody go away now, because it will be too dangerous for his overall lead. The race, of course, is won on points, and Thomas must now finish 3rd and no worse than 3rd, otherwise he will lose the championship. Steve Jones leading now, Phil Thomas. And confirmation now of the result of the second sprint. There it is, Phil Anderson, the winner, of course, with 5 points. Steele Bishop with 3, Alan Piper with 2. 3 Australians there, and Phil Thomas in 4th place with 1. And the overall situation now, with just 1 sprint to go before the competition ends, we will find that Phil Anderson is now in the lead with 47 points, and there it is. Alan Piper second with 28, and Steele Bishop 3rd with 20.
Well, behind me in the pits here are a whole group of lapped riders burnt off by the outstanding pace of Phil Anderson. Can he hang on? We'll be back with the climax of this City Centre Championship in just a few minutes' time.
And so Phil Anderson now coming down the straight and beginning to see the stragglers of the main field. The crowd here now are shouting all the way. They're watching this brilliant Australian lap the field. He's just 4 seconds now behind the string. There they are at the top of the hill. Anderson coming through on 1 rider here. And this is the main field going through now. And as we look back down the streets, Phil Anderson is about to pop round this bend. There he is. So what a ride by Phil Anderson. He is about to do what everybody thought was not possible. At the front here, Alan Piper is leading the pack. Anderson comes round that top corner. And the crowd leaning out as far as they possibly can on the barriers here to see the sight of Anderson, to see just how far behind he is. Anderson goes through. This is the main field now, and surely they must know that Anderson is just behind them round that bend. This enormous crowd shouting him home now, and home it must surely be, because he's going to catch that field, and when he does, they'll never shake him. And then the pressure will be on Phil Thomas, because Thomas must finish second or third to retain, or rather win the championship and retain the lead he's held since the very first day in Bristol. Anderson powering up Temple Street now. This is the climb in which he's made all his moves so far. Look at his face. A man who's hunting for the kill, sights the field ahead of him. The line comes round. These professionals must wonder what on earth is going on now. Piper looks at Steve Jones. Jones said, I can't come through. Anderson coming all the time behind. Well, this is an absolutely marvellous performance by the Australian. Wherever his wife goes, Phil Anderson does seem to become an inspired rider. When she followed him on the Tour de France, he came up with the goods there as well. As he comes round the bend now, the distance foreshortened a little bit by our camera, but the gap no more than just about 2 seconds. And the crowd looking in amazement, because what can you say about this feat of athleticism? Piper on the front, an Australian lead, but they're not going to hold Anderson off much longer. Just look at the crowd shouting him onto the back. Robert Miller there in white, his mouth wide open. Up Temple Street once again. The junction is shortly going to be made. It could well be made as Anderson comes through this time with 11 laps to go. Oh, look at his face now. He'll soon be able to take a breather. Paul Sherwin on the back, and the man in green coming up closer and closer. These last few yards are probably the hardest. He searches once more for the gears. It's a psychological thing. You chase for a lap, you almost catch them. But these last few yards are always the most difficult to bridge. Just 2 seconds the gap. And he's waving his hands, he's calling it, I'm on, and look at that, what a professional. He throws his arms in the air. Phil Anderson joins the back of the field, and he is 1 lap ahead.
And Anderson in the pits, more excited than ever, I think.
He just doesn't know when to stop.
So how do you read the situation now?
Well, I don't know what he's trying to do. He's got to make sure that there's a guy between him and Phil Thomas for the finish, and I don't know exactly how he's going to manage that.
It's all a bit higher mathematics, isn't it? You've been trying to work it out, haven't you?
Yeah. All he needs is one guy. If they tie, Philip will win the series anyway, because I guess he gets points for winning 2 stages or 2 races.
Okay, all a bit complicated. We'll get back to the race with Phil Liggett.
Okay.